the last couple months, but a lot of planning is going on to make sure we're doing it right. We have about 1/3 or 4,000 students of the district's population have decided to join this virtual academy, and that's K through 12th grade from every single school. In that process, it allowed us to focus on the number of staff, so we will have about 125 teachers from all across the district will be serving those students. So this is an exciting adventure, and that's what it is. It's going to be an adventure. We feel like we have a good plan in place, and one of the best things I think we've done is we've waited. We will not start school until after September the 8th. Twofold. One, it allows us to get as much professional development and training for our staff because this is just a new animal. But the other part of it is to kind of watch and see how some of the other districts are handling some of the issues that are coming up, and we're seeing some things that say, hey, this is allowing us to correct some areas or directions we were going. So we're pleased. We have another full week of some training, and once that's in place, I think we're ready to welcome our students to Anderson 5 Virtual Academy.
And how will that work? How will it work for a student who's enrolled in the Virtual Academy?
Well, it's not really any different from in class in a sense, because you have your regular teacher, your homeroom teacher, and those people will be getting a hold of them actually next week. And once they get a hold of them, they're going to work them through the process of how to log on. All of our students have their devices, but there's some tricks as far as making sure you log on. Where do you go to once you log on? What are the next steps as far as making sure you're following the instruction? The difference is our teachers have moved into a little bit of a different role now. They're going to be more like facilitators, because the teacher, the curriculum is what's running the learning. And we have two pieces. It's Ed Minimum is what we're using for high school, and Calvert's for elementary. There'll be times where our teachers are live, where they're working with it for a whole group. They're doing a Google Meet with their entire class, or they may be pulling out small groups, an individual. Notice you're struggling here. We want to make sure you're back on track. And we're monitoring constantly whether our students are, first of all, just logging on. That's going to be a little bit of concern. And two, their attendance is not just based on logging on. It's based on completing and working on their assignments. And that's how we're going to continue to monitor and adjust our instruction and hopefully our kids will be successful that way.
Now, will their school day be normal hours?
It is almost the same hours as
they
everybody
have to
else.
get up and log on?
The school day is almost identical to all of our elementary and high school. We start at 8 o'clock, or 8:15 is the actual time for our students, and they end at right around 2:45, 3 o'clock. So their days meshed in, so there's not work at night. Now, granted, if you don't finish your assignment, that's kind of homework for you. You keep working on it. But the teachers will be working with them at the same time during that school day. So we want them to have that operation where it's not kind of a free-neely where it's all over the place. But it is an actual work day. They have so much time designated per subject, and they're working through it.
Now, what about, is there going to be a mechanism for moving back and forth? Can they move from live school to here, or to here back to?
No. Well, students will be able to apply to go back and forth from the in-class learning or the other one at the end of the semester. But the plan is for the full year. And again, for a couple of reasons. One, it's going to take them a while to get adjusted and used to a virtual program. And two, staffing is determined by how many students are in each area. So to have a large influx of students come this way or go a different direction, it really upsets that apple cart for how you're trying to meet the staffing needs or the staffing ratios per school.
So they have to wait another semester. Do you know the breakdown roughly on K through 5 and then middle school, high school?
I think it's, I'm going to say closer to maybe 2,400 for secondary, 6 through 12, and maybe 1,600, 1,700 for elementary. So pretty close in the numbers.
And does it take more teachers for the younger?
Well, I'm not sure it takes more teachers as much as it's we're trying to make sure they have plenty of resources. So we have a significant number of special education teachers, because there's going to be some resources that need to be provided. We have students that have some some disabilities. We have some that are even considered self-contained that are going to be served through this program. So there's a lot of resources poured in. We have a social worker that's working with us. Our school counselors will be working with it, but they're going to be assigned to the building. Since we have no student bodies here, there's no reason for our counselors to sit here, but they're still going to be working in close connection with our students. I think all of us are in charge of pouring in resources to make sure our kids are staying on task and showing the growth that we need.
And kids have to have broadband to be able to do this, right?
That's correct.
And are there kids who don't have broadband? How are you going to do it?
There probably have been. I think we've been able to get several. I think we ordered about 1,600 hotspots, and maybe a couple weeks ago, 700 or so had already been issued or parents had applied for and received. So we're putting those in the houses and where there's a need. So there's no reason they should not be able to have access and to be able to stay as a virtual student.
And what about kids who are on, free breakfast and lunch program? How's that going to work with the meals?
That's a great concern. We're still offering the child nutrition program, but we're not delivering it as we did through the e-learning process. We will have 4 different schools, 2 middle school, 2 elementary, that are somewhat centrally located, that parents, through an application, if you apply and you're on the free and reduced program, or if it's simply you want to take part of that the child nutrition program, you can go and pick them up at designated hours, both your breakfast and lunch. And it's a hot lunch, and we want to make sure our kids get served as much as possible.
So it's available, but the parents have to get it.
That is correct.
What else do people need to know about the Virtual Academy?
Well, I think we're kind of breaking history a little bit, or we're starting history even. This is going to be new. It's going to be different. It's going to take a little while to get adjusted. But I've heard Mr. Wilson say several times that virtual schools are probably here to stay. We've had virtual schools in the past, and we've had schools that are larger than this one. This is 4,000 students, but this is unique as far as who's applying, who's joining a virtual school, and what were the reasons for. And I know there's usually a vast variety of reasons why people felt comfortable in going this route. But it's going to be around for a while in some form or fashion. People are feeling this is maybe a safer place. Maybe it's part of that school choice approach. Whatever reason, we know that we're going to have to continue pushing. This is not something we're putting a Band-Aid on for learning because of the virus. This is something that we're starting a new direction, and I think you'll see for a long time.
That's what I was going to say. You've been in education for decades. Do you think this is going to continue to grow, and this is just something there's going to be a demand for? Do some kids prefer this and do well in this?
Again, there's virtual schools have been around for a while. Students have done extremely well. This generation has mastered the art of online education. That's not something I'm comfortable with, but our students are, and we have a lot of teachers that are great at pushing that, and they've been through that themselves. I think we were going this route early on. The virus probably expedited it because we had a lot of our students continue to look for different approaches to education. One of the things that's probably will continue to drive this is the teacher shortage we kind of ran into the last couple of years. Well, this is one way you can address that need, and I think we'll see some more examples come from that.
And both with COVID now, where they're talking about social distancing, and the future where we're talking about overcrowded schools, will this help ease some of those overcrowding issues?
Well, I think you can already go back to our in-house schools that are in Anderson 5 and see, and it has allowed for extra space. They've been able to move extra desks out, so there's a benefit already for these schools in just allowing some freedom of movement. It just changes the dynamics. People work here, but there's no buses there, so we don't have to worry about transportation issues here. So it just changes how we look at our method of instruction.
If parents miss the deadline and at last minute they just freak out and want their kid, are there any seats left they can get in?
They're very limited. There are. I know some of our areas, I think maybe middle school is jam-packed. They get put on a waiting list, and I think the way they've looked at it, if we have 5 virtual students from 7th grade one out and 5 one in, that's probably easy to switch. But otherwise, you're on a waiting list, and I think it's slowly closing down that this is school.
And
we're ready to start.
How will you communicate to parents and students? Because this is like almost a different, whole new school here.
That's been a little bit of a task in itself, because you're trying to collect the data, you're trying to collect emails and information from them, and trying to get that dynamic of who these parents are and students are moved over to a different platform has been a challenge. We've sent out a large email just recently, letting people know some points, and then I think it's going to really come down to the most important way of communicating with their folks as a teacher. And so as a teacher has their own classroom, their list, they're going to be making those contacts, because some of the means we've done things in the past are just not there available for us anymore. So I'm curious to see our success, and excited too that it's going to be more reliant on those individual teachers reaching out to them. You know, we can put out a big phone message and stuff, but we want that individual contact from our teachers.
How did that process go? Did teachers volunteer, or how did that work?
We had a wonderful orientation with our staff, that I had a chance to meet 125 people that I didn't know who they were just this week, and we kind of compared some notes and looked at who are the staff that will be serving our students. It was interesting enough that you have a few people that are just, and maybe we call them millennials, but they're folks that they have done online. They may have done online classes all the way through college. They're comfortable with it. That's the wave of the future. They're just excited about it. They came over. We also have some that have some serious health concerns, and they live with some people with some serious health concerns. And as much as they love teaching, as much as they love being around kids, this is a very scary time. And so they felt they needed to be over here. And then we have some others that, I'm sorry, we still need more teachers. Anybody interested in coming? And some of them were just, I'll go. It's a new thing. I'll try it. I'm interested. And a few of them, please don't make me. But you know, it's different. It's a different day. And although some were told to, I can tell you right now that I think we have the entire staff is ready to just jump in, and they realize that we're here for different reasons, but the number one reason we're here is for making sure our kids, the education process, doesn't have a hiccup in it.
And the last thing I meant to ask you, you're new to the administration in Anderson County District 5, but you're not a stranger to District 5. You grew up here.
I did.
You went to schools here.
I'm a product of T.O. Hanna, and a long time ago, and it's interesting to come back here. And one of the most special things had happened to me was the first day as our staff came by. I had a teacher come up and introduce herself to me, but she didn't really have to introduce, because it's someone that 41 years ago I walked out of high school saying goodbye to. And now I get to see them again and working with them again. That's a pretty special feat.
Now, is there a website for the virtual school?
We have a banner that people can follow us with us. It's A5, the number 5, A number 5 virtual. And you can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram.